You're listening to Mad Men Sports. On my left, the Professor, Zach. To my right, the King of Hot Takes, Diamond Dave.
What's up, guys?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Sorry, I'm fighting a cold tonight, so sorry if I don't talk much.
That's all right, man.
I'm gonna beat this thing, Jake.
You are, man. We can take donations.
I got my tea here. I'm ready to go.
Dave, I honestly...
Do you drink your tea with the spoon in there all the time?
I like to mix up the sugar a little bit.
You put sugar in your tea?
Apparently too much of it doesn't dissolve the first time.
Interesting. Zach, man, what's going on?
Thanks for saying I hope I get better, guys.
Yeah, no. I don't really care. As long as you're here, that's fine.
I'm excited. This might be our best episode yet. Dave is not talking a lot, and we might get some productivity gone here.
Throwback.
I'm gonna beat this, guys.
We don't care.
As long as you're here.
We said that already.
Put you in a wheelchair. Weekend at Bernie's. We'll prop you up.
Let's do this.
Do what? What are we doing today?
He's got to overcome this cold. Listen, it was 45 degrees in Buffalo today.
Oh my God, it was beautiful.
Felt like 25 to me.
Yeah, God. We get it. You're on your deathbed. We wouldn't be so lucky.
No, I mean, it's just kind of bringing me to better days. I'm very excited. It was wonderful outside
With
today.
Dave sick? What? Or the
weather? The 45-degree weather. Oh.
We're going to have to cut his audio if he keeps coughing. That's just the facts. Well, this is our last podcast before March, guys.
You don't know that.
Pretty crazy. No, it might be. I mean, unless there's breaking news this week. It's our last Sunday podcast.
I have a feeling there will be.
It's our last Sunday podcast before March, guys. And March, obviously, is the big month for free agency, of course. That'll be big. And we're going to jump into some Bills free agent talk today. We are going to talk about targeting. What should the Buffalo Bills be targeting for free agency? The three of us sat together, talked for hours. We narrowed it down to 4 positions of high priority, at least for building the roster. At this point, it's a playoff roster. We know that. We don't believe last year was a fluke. We think that the team can only get better from here on out. We want to find ways to improve it. So we narrowed it down to 4 positions. Jake brought up this point as a big point of emphasis for the team growth. Jake, give us the first position that we will be breaking down today.
Yeah, so I think we had definitely a better offensive line than 2018 going into 2019, but we can only go up. So I look for the Buffalo Bills to add another offensive lineman. I'll start first, actually. I mean, since I'm already...
Oh, we don't have to go through that yet.
Oh, all right. That's fine.
And then, Dave, would you like to let the listeners know about the other 3 positions that we decided that are big points of emphasis into improving the roster?
Yeah, you guys believe we'll be going after receiver, cornerback, and running back, and go.
Yeah, receiver, cornerback, running back. We might have to start over because we might kick Dave off the podcast today with the coughing. We are concerned about his health now. He is definitely making us feel sympathy for him.
I'm just trying to ignore it, and you guys keep drawing attention.
Yeah,
no, you brought it up a couple
times. It's definitely hard to ignore with that groaning of the cough. But yeah, wide receiver is a huge point where, listen, there was a huge improvements from the last season previous. We need to take another step. They went from a non-playoff team to a wildcard team. Now, how do you get from a wildcard team to a championship caliber team? That is the point of emphasis now at One Bills Drive is championship caliber. It's no longer playoff caliber. That is the standard. Championship caliber is what they need to live up to every single day at One Bills Drive. Cornerback, also vastly important. We have a stud at Trey White. We need to find someone to grow on the other side of him. Last year, Levi Wallace wasn't bad. I just think is a very point of emphasis where we could become a long-term continuity place at that position. Now, Levi Wallace, this was his second year there. Kevin Johnson came on. It was a 1-year deal. Proved it. Proved a little bit to us. I'm not going to disagree with the fact that he might be the answer, but he might need to play a little bit better than he did. And then running back, Frank Gore is no longer, at least on the roster at the moment. Doesn't mean he can't come back. He may come back. Who knows? But I would like to see the Bills improve that position at the moment. So, guys, those are 4 positions. Is there any position that we don't have listed that maybe we'd like to improve? David?
So we don't have anything on the defensive line or linebacker in Lorenzo's spot. I do believe that that's going to be addressed heavily in the draft. I believe the first round, second round, and third round will all be those three positions, being the defensive end and linebacker position.
Jacob,
So
what do you
that is on this list.
So you think pass rush? I agree. The pass rush could use some help there, and
Keep the defense young and solid.
Who's to say they don't have a player on the roster already that we don't know about? Jacob, who do you got?
Say that.
I think it is on this list, but I think we're going to explore wide receiver throughout the draft, and I don't think that is any question to Bills fans. That's kind of a given at this point. It's going to be whether we attack it in the first round or the second round.
Yeah, I hate to get too far ahead into the offseason plans, but I would like to think that a first-round wide receiver is probably not in the cards for this organization, I would say. I think it's a far-fetched observation, but I do think that second, third round, they say it's a deep draft. Well, let's find our nuggets there.
See how deep it is.
Exactly. I imagine a lot of guys will fall due to it being deep. So let's get right into it. We have our picks ready. Let's start with the offensive line, as Jake emphasized this more of a discussion. Dave, who do you think that the Bills bring in or keep at the offensive line position?
I don't think our offensive line's in rough shape as it is. I think Quentin Spain's going to get paid by the Bills, and I think he's going to get paid quite solidly. I do think he stays, and continuity is going to be important for the Bills, and I think the Bills' front five stay exactly what it was last year. Nyseki wasn't real reliable, so I could see him taking a seat back or maybe being gone. So I think Spain comes back, and I think he gets solid money, and he deserves it.
So the point of question really was Spain did have a great year last year, but that right side of the line really struggled at times. Obviously, Feliciano, we all know, is up there with one of the better guards that we've had in a long time, especially on the right side of the offensive line. But the right tackle was a really interesting point of emphasis. Jake, you wanted to dig into that a little bit with your pick.
Yeah, and Cody Ford had a rocky rookie year, especially when Josh Allen, you're starting to figure out that he is your franchise quarterback. Your most important thing is you want to protect him. So I think we are going to get out the former Green Bay Packer, Brian Bulaga. I think former Pro Bowler. I think a comfortable salary, and hey, besides the quarterback, you got to pay these guys. I think $10 million a year would be kind of the going rate for him. So 3 years, $30 million. I can't see too much problem in that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's a bad pick at all. I definitely think the right side of the offensive line could use a boost, and that's something that I kind of addressed with my pick with Jack Conklin. Listen, that offensive line in Tennessee is star-studded. If nothing else, they have their own podcast called We Be Bussin' or something ridiculous. That's with Taylor Lewan, who is their star-studded left tackle, of course, who had his own run-ins with some suspensions last season.
Had his own run-in with the Buffalo Bills, too.
Exactly. He became famous within his own right. But I think Jack Conklin is the answer. I think that's where they put most of their money. They've proven that they have no problem spending money on the offensive line, like with Mitch Morse. I think they make Jack Conklin one of, if not the highest paid offensive right tackles in the league. Much like you said, I think they want to shore up that offensive line. I think they can move Feliciano to the left guard position, Cody Ford to the right guard position, and then Jack Conklin at the right tackle in between. And then think about it. You got a guy that maybe struggled a little bit, maybe more adjusted to a right guard position in between a pro, 25 years old, Jack Conklin, and then Mitch Morse, the highest paid center in the league, at center. I think that's a great combination, and I think if you pay those guys correctly, Dawkins is up for a new contract. You could create the continuity that Dave's talking about with Spain, but at a better efficiency.
Perfect. And let's go into wide receivers. Dave, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, off camera, Zach and I had an argument about Ashton Jeffrey. I do believe he's going to be cut rather soon. There's a lot of talk in Philly about it. There's a lot of talk about him being traded. He wants out. I do think Ashton Jeffrey's a perfect fit for the Bills. I'm a fan of John Brown being the number one receiver of the Bills. I know that there was talk in the offseason about I didn't believe that.
You didn't.
I didn't, but I do think he deserves it. He owned the position. He's a 1,000-yard receiver. I would never predicted that. So to take the pressure off him, Ashton Jeffrey, a big, tall receiver, which is what we need, will be on the opposite side of him, and I do think the Bills pay for him. You don't have to get him expensive, and he could also be another 1,000-yard receiver in the right system.
To be fair, he's only 30 years old. He will be 31 by the start of the season, but it's not terrible.
I'll go next. I'll preference this by I think we are going to be doing the bulk of our acquisitions at wide receiver during the draft. But I think Robbie Anderson from the New York Jets is a solid pickup for the money. He had 5 touchdowns, 52 catches, and 779 yards. That kind of goes to show, especially with Sam Darnold not being where he needs to be, and the New York Jets being a run-first offense. I think those are productive numbers in and of itself. So you're not going to make a big splash with Robbie Anderson. Kind of as well, we have those mold players in John Brown and Cole Beasley, kind of those short, speedy guys. But, I mean, depth at that position can't be a bad thing. So
Yeah, I think for my pick, I didn't pick. I don't think that this organization goes back to the free agency well for their, crown piece of wide receivering for this offense. I mean, listen, Brian Dable's 2 years out of Alabama now? The 2 guys coming out there. We have Henry Ruggs, who I think is the best wide receiver in the draft. And then we have Jerry Jeudy, who everyone loves, as the better option. But I think, listen, I said in the beginning that I think maybe that they wait till the second round. I don't think they're locked into it. I think everything with the Bills draft is going to be fluid up until the point where it starts rattling off picks. There is no specific formula that they're looking for. They're going to look for value and their best player available, because that's what this roster is. I think they'll get to the point where Henry Ruggs, who the third, may I add, might be the best player available at a certain spot that they may trade up or back for or stay put for. Because I think wide receiver will be a hot commodity in this draft, but I don't think people will be so apt to jump onto the wide receiver train for the draft, because it is a deep draft for it. I think people will see, maybe we can wait for Michael Pittman in the second round, stuff like that. There is a lot of value all over the place, so I don't think that the Bills will go to the wide receiver well back-to-back years in free agency.
And, I mean, you kind of have to look at it. I mean, you have John Brown, you have Cole Beasley. Some may say you have Duke Williams as well. You kind of struck gold in free agency last year. I don't necessarily agree with you. I think we should pick someone up in free agency. I mean, we've had such luck in that market. But, I mean,
I'll tell you why they won't, honestly.
Sure.
Is because while they did strike gold out of production value, they also had to pay bigger contracts to those guys. That's a lot of money to tie up. I believe Cole Beasley's making around, now I haven't looked this up in months at this point, but I think Cole Beasley's making around $8 million a year, and I definitely think John Brown's north of the $9 million mark. That's a lot to then go back for maybe an AJ Green or an Anderson, who's going to be looking for the $10 to $9 million range. You can't have that much tied up into wide receivers. I'm not saying they're not worth it, but if you could get a guy of equal value, maybe even better skill set, for a cheaper value on a rookie contract for 5 or 6 years, I think you got to dive right in there and take it.
yeah, Cole's on a 4-year, $29 million contract.
Yeah, that's north of 8 easily. So, he's right in that 8 area, 8.7. John Brown, I believe, is 8.5 to 9.2 area. Yeah, that's a lot of money to tie up in those dudes. And then also you got the tight ends making some money too.
Yeah, we definitely need those rookie deals.
Yeah, you're going to need rookie deals at wide receiver. Because I believe, Cole Beasley's at a $28 million contract, and then John Brown's at a $27 million contract.
Yeah, $27 million.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's a lot of money tied up. Try to find those values somewhere in the draft. But also, I prefer if they didn't jump into the first round and do it all. But I definitely think there's a ton of value. You're going to be drafting wide receivers. I just don't know when. And it's not me to say. It's those guys get paid to do it. We get paid to talk about it. We get paid to talk about it.
Yeah. Oh my God, we do.
Yeah.
Kinda. Not really.
Thanks, Black Button.
Next up, we have the cornerback position. As you were saying, we have Trey White, All-Star, All-Pro cornerback.
Everything. He's everything.
You want to kind of have
Should
someone.
be defensive player of the year, but that didn't happen. Huh?
Yeah. Defensive player in our hearts. But you want someone to kind of match that production value as best as they can. There's not too many guys out there that can do that. But, David, going to the cornerback position, who do you think can best go out there and compete with Trey White?
I don't think he has to compete with Trey White at all. I think he just goes back there and does exactly what he did last year, and that's Kevin Johnson. I think we have, and I've said this, I think we have the best defensive backfield in the league, the 4 guys, and I think you want to keep that with Kevin Johnson. So right now I'm keeping Spain and Kevin Johnson, but I'm also in my world, we aren't keeping Jordan Phillips or Shaq Lawson. So those are the 2 free agents we keep this season. I think Kevin Johnson is the perfect fit for outside of Trey White. So I think he's back next year.
And they kind
And
of
he-
know
and
what
he
he
can get cheap.
and they kind of know what he brings to the table too. So maybe a familiar face of that position when you may have some turnover at the linebacker and maybe a backup interior lineman. A familiar face might be easy to go with. So I don't hate that pick. I don't hate anything Dave's doing today.
Never.
Feel better, buddy.
And I'm going with Tennessee Titans Logan Ryan. Coming off making $9.5 million last year, he's looking to make a decent payday.
Former New England Patriot. too.
Exactly. I think putting him on a one-year deal will be fantastic, specifically because we have Trey White coming up to kind of sign that new deal, so we don't really want to lock up another cornerback to a long-year deal. You look at Logan Ryan, he allowed 2 touchdowns in 2018, kind of regressed a little bit, allowing 5 touchdowns in 2019, but I think he's going to would be a very solid acquisition for the Buffalo Bills secondary.
Might be a little expensive as well. I don't hate that idea. But I kind of cheated on you guys on this one.
Uh-oh.
I went for the double in my brain. I went to second back up in my brain because I think Josh Norman ends up here
Professor.
at least in one point. Maybe it's just for training camp, but I think Josh Norman recently cut, if not is cut.
Yeah.
I think he'll end up back where familiar faces
I hope
will
not. He's
welcome.
not good.
Oh, dude, there is so much tape of you saying against the Redskins about how John Brown can't
There
get
is.
50
He's not
yards.
good. There's a reason he. It's not just money. There's a reason he keeps getting cut by teams. His attitude.
He's only been cut once.
He's been traded from Panthers, which you're right isn't cut, and he just got cut from the Redskins.
They did give him a huge contract. He set the market for quarterback after the Carolina
He
Panthers
had
days.
one good year, and that was it. He
Absolutely.
peaked.
It was absolutely. He
And-
had a
and
great
we-
year with Sean McDermott. I think he may come in to maybe like Kirk Coleman type of deal. But I think when it comes to longevity at the position, kind of what Kevin Johnson would bring, Logan Ryan a little bit older, maybe not as much value long term. But I see a guy that's actually a month older than me, in Eli Apple. He's been in the league for 5 years now. Which, what am I doing with my life? This guy's a month older than me. He's been in the
You have
NFL
one of the
for 5
best
years.
Buffalo Bills podcasts.
That's true. That's true.
That's what you're
we
doing.
talk about the Bills, I guess.
You have a loving brother.
Who's ill? Please send Venmo, please.
Yeah, right now.
I don't have Venmo.
Patreon.
Yeah, no, we do.
So Eli Apple, I think, is a very interesting position for maybe what we would call a cornerback whisperer for the Buffalo Bills and Sean McDermott. He's definitely turned a lot of careers around, like maybe Josh Norman so much, and Kevin Johnson definitely had a career year here, even though it's not saying too much. But I think Eli Apple in the right position, with the right coaching around him, for maybe a 5-year deal, and you could get him on the cheaper end because he's only 24, going to be 25 at the beginning of the season. I think he could definitely bring a lot of value with Eli Apple there, and the Saints probably will not bring him back because they're up against some cap quandaries right now. They might be going looking for a guy in the draft to fill that position. Now, our next position is the running back. We mentioned that earlier. Dave had brought those to light in the beginning of the podcast. This is where I think the three of us maybe got a little too imaginative here. We definitely got a little out of pocket, definitely some fantasy land, but I also don't think it's that far-fetched because I think there's a lot of options out there for the Bills for the second running back in this system.
So,
David,
just
let's
to be
go.
clear, we all don't think Frank Gore's back, right?
Probably not. I think they want to be better at that position. I think Frank Gore served his purpose.
I don't disagree.
I got a guy here that we talked about pretty much all season for trading for. He's one of the most high-profile running backs in the league. He hasn't really played like that. He had a couple maybe good seasons, but not great seasons. Mine's Melvin Gordon. I think you want him because Singletary is more of a McCoy-type back where he catches a lot of balls and he's fast out of the backfield. You need a power back, and that's Melvin Gordon, I think. I think this is a real possibility and something that a lot of people should explore because I really think this is going to happen. I think this is... I want to lock this down as a guarantee, actually. I think the Bills are very much interested in this. I think Melvin Gordon will be a Bill first day of free agency.
Wow. That's a 4 p.m. or midnight, whatever they do now. I think the Bills went to the NFL and asked for them to change the time from midnight to 4 p.m. because Buddy Nix needed to go to bed or something like that. But, Jake, you have a fun one. Let's see what you have to say for the Bills running back situation.
Man. So, going by last year's, this isn't going to be a last year's performance and statistics, it's not going to be a great pick. But David Johnson struggled with injuries. Kenyon Drake came into that running back room and kind of took over the sword. But I think David Johnson would be a good acquisition. Now, of course, he's not going to be a free agent. You would have to trade for him, and the Cardinals did say that they will not be cutting David Johnson. So I think we have about 3 fifth-round picks. Give him a 5th-round pick, and we'll get a pick back for him, including
I've heard
David
it's a
Johnson.
high pick, like a second rounder. They're willing to.
I
Give
really
up.
like that
Yeah.
trade, that move, Jake. But I think the Cardinals would be dumb asses to let him go.
I mean,
You
you have-
realize they're going to let him go.
They
though,
have
right?
Murray, they have Kenyon Drake, they have Fitzgerald back for another year. They have some good young receivers. They have a lot of things going there. They could have a very high power offense.
They need the money.
they have
should
Kenyon
keep
Drake.
him.
They have $49 million in cap.
Kenyon Drake, sure, he had a great 8 games after being traded, but David Johnson was one of the premier backs in the league.
They're going to be getting rid of him. He hasn't been good, honestly, since the last 3 years. He's been pretty bad. He had that one great season, broke his hand, whatever is wrong with him this year, and then, he hasn't really put it all together. I think
I would
heard,
definitely take him for a 5th-round pick. I think he's $10 million against the cap.
think you have
I would
to-
take him for a 3rd.
from what I heard, that they're giving him up with a second-round pick for the value of a 5th-round pick.
Yeah.
Because they want to move his number. I think that's fascinating for the Bills. Also, something I've been hearing through the grapevine is that Devonta Freeman might be out on the market. That's someone who I think the Bills might target as a running back because, to be fair, he does have some mileage on him, right? Mm-hmm. But
He's a great fantasy back.
maybe he's a great 1-2 punch with Devin Singletary a little bit. We know what Freeman brings to the table. He's had his injury woes. Most of these running backs on this list have actually, but that's just kind of the name of the game for running backs. So that's something I think Devonta Freeman might come to town with on that one.
The only problem I have with Freeman is I think he's too similar to Singletary. I think we need a different type of back. But other than that, I like Freeman too. Big fan.
So yeah, in the comment section, this is our call to action segment that we always try to sneak in there. Let us know who you think we should target for the offensive line position, wide receiver position, cornerback position, and running back position. Also, if there's another position, I know you guys are going to say Yannick Ngakoue anywhere. That
Great pronunciation.
Thank you. That you guys should drop that in. Let me know. Let us know. I always comment. We always reply.
I really feel like this week there's going to be a lot of Bills news. I really feel like this is the week that I know I said that last week, but I feel like this is the week the Bills start making moves.
Oh, check out Richard Perks' actually brand new segment on the website. Draft Perks. We had Fantasy Perks, now we have Draft Perks.
So I have a feeling that we'll be doing a lot of talking this week. I think at night we'll be having a lot of 10-minute live podcasts to discuss the moves.
So check out Richard Perks' article. That'll be on madmensports.com. That'll be on Facebook and Twitter, and I don't know if it'll be on Instagram. I don't know what it is. Jake does Instagram.
Yeah.
But yeah, check us out.
No. Hey, draft.
We have our draft show coming up. We'll be going live for the NFL draft the whole night. Make sure to email us your mock draft from 1 till 22. We will be keeping track of the points, and we will be giving away an autographed, authentic Bills Legends jersey, as well as a second and third place prize. So the more you get correct, the more points you get. And we'll be giving away out free prizes just for watching our live stream for us. So
One trade equals 1 point.
exactly. If there's a trade, you automatically get a point. Be sure to email that to us at madmansports@gmail.com. Thank you guys. Have a great weekend and a whole week.
Yes.
Thanks for stopping by.
Have a good weekend
care,
next
bud.
week, too.
Bye-bye.